How you doing, everyone? So your teacher, Miss Rossiter, got a hold of me. Her and I served together on both of our first deployment. Actually, it was my first deployment and hers. We were both aboard the USS Peleliu, and they called it the Iron Nickel. So giant, well, not giant, but it was a pretty big ship. It was a helicopter. It's more of a helo-borne carrier. Sends off like Harriers or helicopter stuff that could take off, vertically. Um, anyways, that's how I know your teacher, Miss Rossiter, and she asked me if it was all right if her students, you guys, if it would be all right if you guys, you know, wrote me and all, and I thought I'd get a jump start on it, and she sent me a picture of the board today, and I personally suck at writing. It looks like chicken scratch. But yeah, I'll continue doing these with you guys as long as you want. You come up with questions. I'll send back videos or whatever. Sorry if my voice is a little shaky. I've been a little bit under the weather lately. Had a stomach bug majority of the day. Um, so let's see. A couple of the questions that I have here. Um, I'll just go in order on what was on the board. So, do I still need training? Yes. If we are not training, something's wrong. We should always be training. We should always be prepared for what's coming. If you're not training yourself for something else, and you think that you know too much to not put in an effort to train anymore, then as a service member and in life in general, like you're messing up. You should always train yourself to do something more. So that's me personally. But yeah, I do need more training. We're constantly training. I don't know if she's told you, but my unit actually just finished training because we're about to deploy in, I believe, a month. So we're just getting ready to push out here in a little bit. So here's the next question. How old was I in boot camp? So I was 18 years old. I was fresh out of high school. I had maybe 2 months after high school before I went into boot camp. I went in boot camp September 2nd of 2008. So if you haven't had a chance to really do the math on that, I've been in for just over 9 years now. Wouldn't want to do boot camp again, but I look back on it and it was pretty funny. So I'm pretty sure you guys might have seen videos before, horror stories of boot camp. Let's see. What is my job? All right, so my job is, it falls under the UH infantry option, which is, I'm an infantryman. More specifically, I'm an 0311. I'm a rifleman. But because I'm a sergeant, I have a squad leader billet. So what that means is I have 12 guys under me. I have a squad, and 12 guys under me. They're my responsibility. If something happens, whether it's in their personal life or their professional life, meaning at work, it's my responsibility to make sure that they're squared away, that they're good, and I'm their mentor essentially. I help them. So, and I have team leaders under me that have their own teams. They help me out. So, essentially what it is I don't know if you guys have seen like any war movies or not. Essentially that's what I do. I kick indoors, or go out into the jungles, or mountains or whatever, and just look for whoever's quote unquote the enemy. Let's see, been a Marine for 9 years. Why did I become a Marine? So, I've always kind of blamed my mom for this one. Um, when I believe I was 4, we went out to a military air show over in, where was it? It was Riverside County, California, and March Air Reserve Base over there. It's an Air Force base. They were putting on an air show, so we got to see like the Thunderbirds, and we got to see like, some of the guys. We got to see like how they train and how they react to different situations. And I'd go up to like the little stand that they would have over there after everything was done, and my mom would pay to like, well, I would beg my mom, but she would pay for it, and they would do the whole like face paint, like I'm out in the jungle, so just like green blotch and like the black stripes and everything. So it was a pretty interesting time. But when I was that young, I saw all the Thunderbirds, all the jets, all the planes, and not knowing, to me, aviation kind of runs in my family. My great great grandfather, I believe it was, he was a fighter pilot in World War I, so one of the first fighter pilots. And let's see, my great grandpa was also a pilot, and then my grandpa was a pilot, and there was a whole aviation lineage in my family for a little bit, and that's what I wanted to do. Well, I wanted to become a fighter pilot. Something I've always wanted to do. Just love the raw power of them, being able to do stuff like you're on a roller coaster in the air and everything. But there was a problem. I was too tall, and 2, I used to wear glasses, and both of those were disqualifiers for me. I still could have became a pilot, but I couldn't do what I wanted to do. So like an idiot, I gave up on it entirely. But I don't regret it, because I actually love the job that I'm doing now. I'm actually looking into schools right now for whenever it is I get out of the Marine Corps to go to flight school and become a fighter, or not a fighter pilot, but a pilot for the California Department of Forestry. So that way I could be the guy that drops that red retardant in all the fires. Let's see. But yeah, I've always blamed my mom for that one, because as funny as it is, one of the demonstrations that we got to see over there was something that I used to do for the first 6 years. Yeah, the first 6 years of me being in the Marine Corps. And Miss Rossiter has seen this herself, actually. I was in a helicopter company. So what we used to do is there was a rope that would go down either the back of a helicopter or down the middle of the helicopter. And there's a hole in the center of it. And God, please forgive me for saying this. It's literally called the hell hole. So it's a hole in the floor. It's probably just a little bit wider than my shoulders on each direction. And with all of our gear, with our full kit and everything, flak, weapon, pack, like we have to go down this hole or out of the back of the helicopter. And we'd slide down this rope. No other safeties other than holding onto it with our hands. So that's what I used to do for the first 6 years of being in the infantry. But that's what we saw at the air show, and I saw that, and that was the second thing that popped into my mind when I realized I wanted to be in the military. When I found out I couldn't become a fighter pilot. And yeah, I wouldn't trade it for a day. I've met some very interesting people, but I've always blamed my mom for that, and she always yells at me for blaming her on that one. She says, "Wasn't my idea." But you know how moms are. Let's see. Oh, I lost my. Oh, here it is. I've only been a Marine 9 years. 9 years. 9 years. Eugh. When was my last haircut? All right, so this is an interesting one. I feel like this is the Miss Rossiter directed question right here. Um, we have to get haircuts every weekend. So I normally get my haircuts every Saturday because every Sunday every Marine is trying to get their haircuts and it just makes for a long line. So I always just try to get my haircuts on a Saturday. So every weekend, get a haircut. And if I have to go to something that's, let's see, like if I had to go to a professional school that'll help better me in my career, then that's another haircut. So it gets pretty itchy a lot. I got pretty good at cleaning my ears though, as you can imagine. How old was I when I decided I want to be a Marine? So this is an interesting one. For the longest time I was always told, because I always said I wanted to be a Marine. I was always drawn to them. I was always drawn to, the hard work, the discipline, the challenge. And I told my family. And you'd think that your family would be supportive of you and tell you like, oh yeah, you could definitely do it, do what you want to, do what your heart desires. Almost everyone in my family told me that I couldn't do it. So watch out for that one. So, proved them wrong. So, not only was I able to do boot camp and become a Marine, but as you can see, I'm a successful squad leader in the infantry. One of the harder jobs in the Marine Corps. Let's see. But when I decided, because I was back and forth, Air Force at the time had a pretty good piloting program, and I was going to do that because I wanted to try the F-16. I wanted to fly the F-16 so bad, and that's when the F-22 started coming out. I was like, I want to start getting ready for that because I eventually my goal was to try to become a fighter pilot and then apply for NASA. I could still apply for NASA, it'd just be a different job. But I think I was 17 and I was about ready to graduate high school. And one of my buddies, I'm still in contact with him now. He looked at me and he's like, well, what do you want to do now that you can't become a fighter pilot? And I said, well, I was thinking about becoming, an Air Force PJ. It was just a thought. And he goes, dude, why don't you just come into the Marine Corps with me and go into the special ops? And I thought about it and I ended up going in with him, and I didn't think that I would get the score for it, so I chose a different job before I got my scores back, thinking, I was going to get a low score. I actually got a lot higher of a score than what I anticipated. So, hey, at that point, I said, well, I'm gonna go through with what I said I was gonna do, so I'm gonna do it. That was the infantry. Can't apply for special forces anymore. I have 2 daughters, so that would just keep me away from them longer. So try to maintain as much time as I can with them. Let's see. Have I ever been wounded? Me personally, no, but I have been injured a lot. Miss Roster has seen one time when I was actually injured. I was actually, I don't think she saw me for about a week. We were fast roping. We were going down the rope on the helicopters, and I was overloaded with gear in my pack, and I couldn't see where the floor was because we have all of our protective equipment. So we have our what we call our flak jacket. It has these sappy plates in them that's supposed to help stop or slow down a bullet. And it's a lot of weight. Just the flak jacket itself was about 35 pounds without ammo, without water. Like it was a lot. And then we threw on about 80 pounds more worth of gear. So I'm sitting on the rope and I was starting to be pulled back by it, by all the weight, and my legs were fully extended, and I did what we'd call a lawn dart, which was my feet were together, and my knees bent back, and my right ankle rolled while my knees were going backwards. And the rest of my body started to go forward. So that put me out of action for about a week. My ankle swelled up, the entire side of my ankle was bruised. I just recently did the same thing again a few months ago. I'm still recovering from that. Let's see. I fell off a cliff. Luckily, I landed in a tree. Most people say they fall out of trees. I fell into one. So it's a pretty funny time because at the time I was just general population. I wasn't a leader or anything. I was just going about my day. And we were doing a night patrol, and we have our night vision goggles down. So it's this little hole about this big. I don't know if you can see that too well, but it's about this big, and that's all you see. So it's like looking through a PVC pipe that's green. And you have very limited vision. And my team leader was trying to give me a hand and arm signal. And he was trying to tell me not to step in a certain area. But the way he was giving me a hand and arm signal, it looked like he wanted me to go there. Because that's what the hand and arm signal he gave me. He wanted me to go there. At least that's what I thought. So I step over this log, and I'm trying to put my foot down, and lo and behold, there's no ground there. So I fell about 15 feet, landed in a tree, in like a forked branch of a tree on my back, and I had my machine gun land on my chest, luckily on my chest. And I remember like laying there just kind of like gasping for air for a second because it knocked the wind out of me. And I just see him poke his head over the side of the cliff, and I just see him drop his head back like this, like, oh man, this idiot. So they had to take all their slings off of their rifles and tie them together and pull me out. So let's see, there's been another time. Bridgeport. I lost a lot of hearing in my right ear because of this, actually. We're up there for training, and I had to go up for training a month before the rest of my battalion did. So that way we could dress up as if we were like, enemy forces, because we were getting ready for deployment, and they wanted us to look like we were like villagers or Taliban. So whichever one of the roles that we had at that time. And I went out on this night patrol with them, and it was a full moon, so we were able to see where we were going. And we came up on this patrol base for Bravo Company. I was in Charlie Company. So we come up on Bravo Company, and they try to give us the challenge and pass, which is, a set. It's a password, is what it is. They want the password. Like, I don't know if you guys have seen like the Little Rascals, but they're like, "What's the password?" Like, it's like that. Well, they challenged us, and we didn't know what the challenge and pass was. We didn't know what the password was. So our instructor, he looks back at us and he goes, "Hey, start firing, start shooting." And this kid, well, not kid, this guy that I went out on this patrol with, he lifted his rifle and he started shooting right next to my ear. So all I saw was this 3-foot flame in front of me. And it, percussion of it and how loud it was, it damaged my hearing. There's been other times like that where it's, small injuries and different kinds of shenanigans. But yeah, it was definitely a fun time. Um, Other than not being able to see or hear anything after that, because I was wandering around that riverbed like I was like Frankenstein, just trying to find my way in the dark. So, um, yeah, it was a pretty fun time. Who works for me? So, I have, let's see, in a squad we're supposed to have 13 people. I would be the 13th person. Uh, right now we've had a lot of guys get injured or getting out of the Marine Corps. So I think right now I have 10 total in my squad. So in their job, you know, it's essentially to listen to me, you know, and I listen to my platoon sergeant or my platoon commander. So I'm more help direct everyone, like what needs to happen. So I'll tell like my first team leader, I'll tell him like, hey, I need you to set security over here, make sure that nobody's coming in or coming out. I'll set my second team leader off, like, hey, I want you up on a hill somewhere, making sure that, you know, nobody's coming off in the distance or trying to run. That way you just kind of get a level eye of everything. But yeah, 10 guys, 10 Marines that work for me, and we have a corpsman attached to our squad. So a corpsman is a lot like how the Army has their medics. It's what it is, but we call ours corpsmen. We don't call them medics. They are sailors. They're in the Navy because the Marine Corps doesn't have their own branch of medical. So we rely on the Navy for that. So thank you, Ms. Rossiter, for, you know, sending us corpsmen. And yeah, they do a pretty good job. A lot of them are a lot tougher than what even some Marines are, because they have to carry all the same weight as us and their medical bag. Their medical bag is about 45 pounds more than, you know, what we have to carry. So about 100 pounds plus 45 more. So it gets pretty interesting sometimes. Sometimes we'll help them out. Sometimes they say, hey, get away from me, I can do it. But yeah, if you have any more questions, you know, feel free to write, or you know, if Miss Rossiter is okay with it, you could put them on the board, and or she could send me messages, and I could do the same thing. Funny story about Miss Rossiter on ship. You ever see like that really, really small dog with like the gigantic bone in its mouth, just like trying to like tug it away? Well, Miss Rossiter, I believe, she was a engineer. I don't remember what exactly in which department, but I do remember her walking around with these giant wrenches, and I could not help but think of like a small chihuahua with like these gigantic bones everywhere. 'Cause it was just a sight to see. But she was awesome at it, because where she worked, it was a lot hotter than what it was up top. So she would come up and we all hang out in like the mess hall, and she'd just be drenched in sweat, just tired, hungry, but she always had a smile on her face. So remember that one. So hey, it was a joy talking to you guys. Feel free to ask me any more questions. I'll answer them for you. Hope you guys have a good day. Like I said earlier, I'll be deploying soon. So if you want to continue to do these kinds of videos, I'll still be able to do them, but it might be a month or two in between videos, because I'm gonna be gone for a while, and I won't know if I'm gonna have Wi-Fi or not to send it. So anyways, y'all have a good one, learn a lot, stay in school, and see you guys later.